sea of tents, caravans and people which make up the sprawling Sweetwaters. Down on the ground, a familiar dance where a driver who thought he could was in a car that knew it couldn't. Despite the increasingly soggy ground after overnight rain, a steady line of festival goers streamed in well into the night and throughout the day. While the big acts made a low-key start last night, the packed-out dance tent, which didn't start until midnight, proved a big hit. With some still there 10 hours later, in body at least. Today, Kiwi champions of off-kilter pop, The Clean, played to an audience that, because of the mud, was anything but clean, but determined to make the most of a sludgy situation. While the countrified strains of the Waratahs provided a near-perfect soundtrack for the rural music experience. Even the long arm of the law seemed relaxed, with police making just 6 arrests overnight. The only people not able to take it easy were those dishing out the money, FBOS machines proving the most popular show in town.
Yeah, play they are, mate.
A sentiment shared by the laid-back crowd.
And that's a sentiment that continues now with the festival about 30 hours old. The big acts are just taking the stage. The Cowboy Junkies from Canada are just on the main stage now. The Finn Brothers and UB40 are due on later tonight. But this really is a very laid-back 30-odd thousand people. Bearing in mind there are 350 acres here, so everyone is free to roam around, take the time. There's not a lot of queues forming and people are very much laid back.
I hate to dampen your enthusiasm, Greg, but isn't there a bit of rain expected tonight?
Well, Richard, it's actually been quite a grey, overcast day all day, but that has been good as far as the crowd's concerned. Not a lot of people getting overheated, no dehydration according to the ambulance people I spoke to earlier this afternoon. But there is rain forecast for tonight, but as they've already proved, rain and mud are no obstacle to enjoying Sweetwaters.
Thanks, Greg. Greg Boyd live from the Sweetwaters Festival. And later in close-up, some of Sweetwater's leading acts, but not the way they'll appeal at the festival. We'll have an exclusive night out.
The Youth Development Programme, Project K, headed by Graham Dingle. Kay Gregory reports.
There wasn't a dry glass in the house as 300 punters forked out $200 a ticket to get a ringside seat for the gig, featuring $1 million plus worth of talent. The good news for the rest of the hotel's guests, the concert was unplugged. It was a mini Sweetwaters. Underground act Canada's stunning Cowboy Junkies set the mood. The packed house warmed up with the amazing Rhythm Aces, and Graham Dingle was thrilled with the turnout.
It'll help considerably the night tonight.
Sunshine Superman Donovan disappeared from the charts a while ago, but the crowd sang every word to his old hits. Few artists turned down the chance to do Kids with Little Hope a good turn.
We're here, gonna have a good night.
Yeah. Sensation of the night, a couple of lads from Te Awamutu. Everybody wanted to sing with Neil, including Grant Lee Phillips from cult LA band Grant Lee Buffalo. Then an announcement that tore the roof off. Elvis Costello and Neil Finn would swap talents, with a little help from friends like Tim Finn. Elvis's songs, Neil's songs, and a killer version of the old Jim Reeves Chestnut. Kay Gregory, One Network News.
To have been there. Greg Boyd is at Sweetwaters and joins us now with the latest. Greg?
Well, Liz, as you can hear, the music is still continuing here at Sweetwaters, but a distinctly sour note's been struck behind the scenes. Elvis Costello contacted One Network News just after 3 o'clock this afternoon, and here's what he had to say.
That in 21 years, I've never been in a situation where it's If I wasn't of the mind that it's just incompetence, I'd say it was a calculated insult.
Costello was actually signed up in May, and he says he was used as a big lure to bring other international acts to the Sweetwaters Festival, but he now has a rather stinging warning for anyone else considering touring in New Zealand.
I would have to advise friends and colleagues to have a serious look about any offer that they got from here to make sure that this wasn't repeated. Maybe on a concert tour the economics would be very different, but this sort of event is obviously beyond the capabilities of the people who organise it, clearly.
I spoke to promoter Daniel Keeley late this afternoon. He wouldn't appear on camera, but he did say that the bottom line is they don't have the money to pay Costello his full fee. While Costello's in New Zealand and may or may not play, that's still up in the air. Run DMC, who were also due to play last night, now not coming at all. The official explanation is that one of their members is now in hospital and undergoing surgery, but One Network News understands that travel arrangements were never actually made for the band to come to New Zealand. While that's all going on behind the scenes, there has actually been some music played, believe it or not, two of the highlights of which were last night.
Tim and Neil Finn, a pair of hometown heroes with Sweetwaters in the palm of their hand. They played the expected and, to the delight of the crowd, had a laugh with the unexpected. UB40's gentle brand of reggae also proved popular with the crowd, despite the Birmingham 8 taking the stage over an hour late. Along with the Finns, they drew by far the biggest crowd in a festival that's never really looked crowded, much to the despair of stall owners, some who've paid up to $10,000 for their sites.
You get pretty organised for these sort of things. A lot of work goes into just getting here. I mean, once you get here, you're here to make money, you're not, you know.
And for many, it's been far from a vintage Sweetwaters.
We've been a bit disappointed, I have to say, but everyone's about the same though. There's been pretty slow for everybody.
Organisers admit they might have simply got it wrong.
I think we possibly overestimated the amount of food stalls that were necessary for the numbers of people. I know that probably the most disappointed vendors have been those selling ice, things like that, because ice hasn't sold.
Promoters say they've sold just under 30,000 tickets, but police say there's never been more than 20,000 people on site at any one time, which is good news for the law, with less than 30 arrests since Friday morning.
But the most important numbers will be those on the bottom line.
I have no idea what the gain will be at this point in time. Talk to me on Tuesday and I'll know.
Well, in fact, that day of reckoning could come a lot earlier, but the last word, I guess, must go to the man of the moment, Elvis Costello.
If I'm there at 11 o'clock tonight and I play, people should get in free because it's a free festival because I'm not getting paid. You know, how about that deal, you know?
A few of artists out of pocket. Greg Boyd has more.
Elvis Costello, unpaid, unhappy, but on stage and determined to have the last laugh.
We're going to do a song by the Beatles. It's called You Never Give Me Your Money.
Costello performed despite not getting his fee from promoters, and today he left with a final shot.
I watched the news this morning and I'm a little bit sad to see that now Daniel Keeley, you know, now the whole thing is almost over. He's surfacing now and trying to put a spin on it already. It's in the hands of the lawyers, so I'm not going to say any more about the legal thing.
I mucked up, you're quite correct. I didn't have things sorted out on Friday as I should have. But normally in this situation it would be something that happened between an artist and the promoter.
But it's not just the headliners who are having money woes. Some local acts too say they've hit a sour financial note at Sweetwaters.
He showed up about 9:15 and there was no PA there. Apparently the PA hired people had taken it out the night before because of non-payment.
One Network News also understands unpaid bills have been left at the luxury Sheraton Hotel, where many of the big acts stayed. Hotel management wouldn't comment on the issue. But there has been some good news for organisers. UK band The Stranglers haven't been paid either, but came out in support of organisers today.
I think it's a storm in a teacup, and people are just panicking, and maybe there's the odd whingy pom.
Sweetwaters winds up tonight, but while many were streaming out of the festival this afternoon, the music's almost over. However, it seems headaches for organisers have only just begun.
But as Paul Hobbs reports, right up until the last moment, the promoter thought he could pay his bills.
I'll do everything in my power to make sure that he gets paid.
False hopes from a man once the country's hottest young promoter, who set up smash music festivals he dubbed Sweetwaters. But even before this year's model opened, rumours circulated that ticket sales were slow, and New Zealand's favourite son, Neil Finn, joined the chorus of discontent.
to this point, I haven't found anybody who has actually been paid. Well, these events are fraught anyway, but I think that there was a certain amount of dishonesty went on up front.
Financial trouble started with acts with the arrival of UB40, but in the end they performed. The same day, Keanu Reeves pulled his band Dogstar from the festival. Another headline act, Run DMC, never looked like playing. They didn't even turn up. And then there was Elvis Costello.
If I'm there at 11 o'clock tonight and I play, people should get in free because it's a free festival because I'm not getting paid. You know, how about that deal, you know?
We're going to do a song by the Beatles. It's called You Never Give Me Your Money.
The Costello comments magnified what had become a very obvious money problem. He played, but left without being paid. Stall operators claimed they too were shortchanged, with returns far lower than expected. Within hours of the festival winding up, the liquidators moved in. Stuart Robertson said Daniel Keeley stated that revenue from the event was simply insufficient to meet the costs. Keeley himself released this statement: "I'm deeply saddened by the events and with such an outcome in terms of a cultural and musical event." The liquidator added Sweetwaters' money woes were probably the result of a risky venture not meeting financial goals. But one thing's for sure, he knows it wasn't enough, and he knew soon after the event started.
We'd talked amongst a lot of the people on the site on the Saturday about how significantly badly it was doing in terms of the fact that we expected a lot more people. We had discussions, we'd had sit-down meetings with production, staging. All of those people were aware of the difficulties, but chose to continue, and I'm proud of them for that, and I'm sorry that they're the losers in the end.
Daniel Keeley says he too will lose everything. Estimates based on a paying crowd of 25,000 put the gate takings at more than $3 million. Keeley says he can account for all of it.
Well, I haven't heard anybody make any kind of negative statements about people running with money, and that definitely wasn't the case. The festival was never a matter of enrichment.
Now he's sorting through the string of debts alongside the liquidator.
I think the hardest part is confronting the people who are owed money and recognising how much their lives are affected. And
Daniel Keeley says if he could change anything, he would, and realises with his credibility now shot, if Sweetwaters returns, he won't be heading it. Paul Hobbs, One Network
SFO
News.
investigators. And more details are emerging about the festival's financial woes.
Sweetwaters promoter Daniel Keeley's now a regular visitor to the liquidator's office. As the claims roll in from creditors, Keeley's said to be very upset.
He's a very sad man.
The flawed four-day festival has also been drawn to the attention of the Serious Fraud Office. 3 News has been told the liquidator has spoken to the SFO as part of his assessment of the festival's finances. The SFO only deals with allegations of serious or complex fraud, or fraud involving sums over $500,000. Among the big creditors, Oasis Finance is owed $350,000, Manukau City Council $120,000 and Interstaging $100,000.
They were projecting a break-even of 33,000 ticket sales. They achieved something like 25 or 26 as best we can identify at this time, which says that it was going to make a loss as of then, but I think the estimate of loss is probably rising now.
An estimated loss that runs into 6 figures for this security company.
There's 100,000+ that we need to pay our staff, and we need to pay our officers, and we need to pay our management and people like that obviously we can't pay now.
One band made sure it got its fee paid well in advance. Nashville's The Amazing Rhythm Aces flew out today with their fee safely prepaid, but had some parting advice for Keeley.
The guy should have watched Woodstock a couple more times before he did this one, I think. Especially the guy going, "Oh, lost everything, but I'm happy, man." Well, I hope he's happy too.
Another organisation which is not happy though is the local council. After having cheques to the tune of $120,000 bounce, Manukau ratepayers will have to wear the cost of the massive clean-up at the site. Marianne Twentyman, 3 News.